Recently, it's been nice in a lot of areas. Hopefully it has been where you are. Lots of food available, lots of fuel available. Sun is nice and warm, but hopefully not too hot in your area. It's been gotten a little spicy in some places. But generally speaking, we're having good weather. Things seem to be clipping along pretty good. Hopefully you've been taking the opportunity to get more prepared. We're going to be talking about some of the things that look like they're about to leap upon us. Some of the things that some of the stats are happening right now. Things are getting harder and harder for people. Perhaps you're struggling as it is right now in these good times, and yet we're seeing that hard times are coming our way. Let's jump into it, folks. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and as I'm looking at the numbers out there, folks, I'm seeing some pretty rough stuff. If you don't like the mainstream media, don't trust them, please hit that thumbs up button to let us know that we're doing a fair job over here. So here's some of the critical items. One of the things is that the Federal Reserve itself basically is all saying the same thing, that we're going to have a recession later this year. Now, you and I know that they're full of it, that we're currently in a recession, but as of yet, it seems to be relatively mild. Now, in some regards, we've been in a recession since 2008. You say, Steve, that sounds crazy. Well, if you take out all the government spending based on money that we've printed out of thin air, we have a GDP that is still lower than 2008, before the market crashed then. That kind of tells you kind of where we are with things. We've been a slow-burning mess for quite some time. And of course, the cough and the situation with all the mandates and everything like that did not help in the least. But we've just seen in the last month, pawn shop searches on Google have spiked through the roof. In fact, it is 33% higher than 2008, the previous record. More people are searching for pawn shops near me than they were at the height of the crash in 2008. People are hitting the end of their limits. And I mean that literally. They are passing their credit card maxes. Credit card limits out there are blowing out. People cannot afford to just continue living their present lifestyle. And people have not cut back on their lifestyles, generally speaking. By and large, Americans have just started taking on more and more debt in order to continue their current lifestyles. Friends, we are at a place where Americans are starting to have to make some tough choices. Tough choices between this or that. It is wise for us to cut back our lifestyle before we need to cut back our lifestyle now so that we can live better tomorrow, live better in the future. We've talked about that quite a bit, of cutting back on your lifestyle now so you have some extra money so that you can stockpile some food, you can stockpile some insurance for the future, because tomorrow is probably going to be worse than today. Why is that? Well, that's the mindset of the ant. During the summertime, the ant collects up goods so that in the wintertime they are taken care of. If we have good times, and hopefully you are experiencing relatively good times, hopefully you're not in crisis mode right now. If so, you have, I don't know, hours, days, weeks, months before the good times in your life come to an end. Friends, we are almost out of time, and we need to be seeing the writing on the wall. In the United States, we're seeing people moving more and more. More people have moved in the last year than the past 3 years before. We're seeing a lot of people are now feeling enough relief that they can move, but we're seeing a very interesting new trend. And that is people are more and more moving for political reasons. Inside the United States, people are more and more moving to states that have the same political identity as they are. Democrats are moving to blue states. Republicans and conservatives and libertarians are moving to red states. We're seeing this dramatic shift, this dramatic polarization, and it is consolidating political power in each of these states. Friends, are you going to be caught on the wrong side of the line? I feel this being stuck here in Pennsylvania. And while I feel like I'm in a pretty good region in Pennsylvania, I'm seeing with increasing nervousness what is happening in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as they pass laws that are more and more antithetical to who I am and what I believe in. Not only that, but we keep hearing statistics out of the government how low the unemployment rate is. But right now we have 105 working age Americans, 105 million working age Americans who do not have a job. Not only that, but we have more and more people taking on 2 to 3 jobs. In fact, the people increasing 2 to 3 jobs is increasing faster and faster. But people who have 1 job are actually declining, and it has been for the past several years. People with 1 job have been declining because people are getting that 2nd job, that 3rd job, because they need it in order to make ends meet. There's a lot of pain out there as prices have been increasing and yet wages have not. More people in the United States are not working than at the height of the 2008 crash. At the peak of the 2008 crash, there were 90 million working age Americans without a job. Today, there are 105 million working age Americans without a job. And it's not that there aren't jobs available, right? You go down to Wendy's or McDonald's or most any store these days, and you're going to see a sign, "Help Wanted." How many times have you been at stores recently that they said that they can't conduct the business hours that they normally have because they don't have enough workers? Or they give another excuse because they don't have enough workers. How can we have 105 million working age Americans without a job? Now, a whole bunch of them are stay-at-home moms, and that is a very important job. But let's just be honest, many of them aren't. Many of them are either single or they are people who should be providing for their family, but they cannot. The truth is that a lot of these jobs that are trying to be filled, it's very difficult to make ends meet with those jobs. $15 an hour is not what it used to be, and yet that, at least in my area, is the gold standard. If you get hired for anything less than $12 an hour, you're certainly doing something wrong. And all throughout there, we're finding people having a hard time finding good jobs, jobs that pay a living wage that you can go with. Jobs at McDonald's and Wendy's and such. Those jobs were intended for high schoolers. But of course, high schoolers, by and large, don't have jobs anymore. And people in college. I mean, how many of you either went to college and worked your way through college, and yet so many people don't do that anymore? Retirees. Those jobs used to be for retirees, too, that need some extra money. It wasn't really ever intended for those jobs to be a career, unless you got into management of like fast food restaurants. And yet those are the type of jobs that are available, and we have so many people who are not willing to work those jobs, but we're seeing more and more people trying to cobble together a career to provide for their families by patching several of these jobs together. Things are desperate, and a lot of people are hurting right now. Let's just be honest. A lot of people are hurting. Many people are doing okay. Many people are really, really hurting. And some people are in crisis mode. And it looks like those numbers in crisis mode are increasing as the days go by. And let's also be honest. A lot of people out of college, they got a degree, they're still waiting for that magic job and unicorns and fairy dust to come down upon them, and they fail to see the urgency of their situation because their student loans have been suspended almost permanently. They haven't paid a student loan payment in years. And that debt hanging over their head almost disincentivizes them from working. Will they get all of that debt just gone by whoever administration is, or by laws are not being passed, but actions are being taken? But if those student loans start being demanded to be repaid again, we're going to see a lot more discretionary income disappearing. A lot of income that was going to the fast food restaurants and the weed dispensaries all over the United States. That's going to have to go back to student loans. There are hard times coming, friends. The economy in the United States is not what we're being told it is. You feel it. The people around you feel it. We see more and more people who can't afford things that used to be able to afford. And people still pretending that they can afford those things by going out and putting it on their credit cards. Credit card balances are up unbelievably. How much further can they go before banks just all across the board shut them down? Because, friends, that's what's happening right now. Banks are not issuing new credit. They're terrified that the people that are borrowing money won't be able to pay it back. And they're not wrong. We as Americans are up to our eyeballs in debt, personal debt, business debt, national debt. Friends, we owe so much money, and we're just all hoping that future generations will have to pay it for us. That's not a healthy society, and I think we all know it. Whatever you have today, imagine that you will have less tomorrow. What can you put aside today in these good days? Maybe it doesn't seem like a good day to you, but believe me, things can and probably will get a whole lot worse. What happens when we come into a full recession, a full depression that's even acknowledged by the government bodies? Because that's where we're headed. As the US dollar collapses, as inflation goes crazy, we're going to be seeing a whole new world. When the stock market comes crashing down and nobody can pretend otherwise, we're seeing discretionary spending and retail spending dropping. And companies are cutting employees. They're cutting employees everywhere. That is going to continue to have an impact as we go forward. Keep stocking up, folks. Don't get discouraged and don't get distracted. Enjoy your days, but take steps to lay aside something extra every day if you can. Every week if you can. When you go to the store, buy a little extra and put it on the shelf. Make sure you rotate it, but keep putting some extra up on the shelf. If you can put some money into savings or buy a little bit of silver or gold, that's a great idea as well. But first, focus in on your food preps. That's the best way to go. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, you can find that right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.